Hello and welcome to this short video about the topic of 15 mark questions for OCR G674 Social Inequality and Difference exam. So this is the first question in the exam. It's compulsory. That means you have to answer this question, and it's a research methods question, but because it's part of the Social Inequality and Difference exam, refer to social inequality and difference in your answer. Okay, so let's look at the structure of a possible answer. So outline and explain the reasons why questionnaires may be used in sociological research. Okay, what does the question not refer to? The question does not refer to social inequality and difference. Nonetheless, you must refer to that topic to get a C, B or A according to the examiner's advice and the mark scheme. Keywords of questionnaires: reasons why, obviously sociological research, but the key word that's not included is social inequality and difference. That phrase is not in there. So we need to refer to that nonetheless anyway. So, in any question, for any essay, a good strategy is to show you understand obviously a definition of the words in the essay question and the phrases, and relate them to a view or perspective, and refer to the kinds of issues that you're going to explain over the course of the whole essay. So essentially, if you think about what you know about the whole module and the whole topic, and then your answer will follow from there, and it will all fall into place if you really just think about what you know and what you're expected to discuss, what kinds of issues you're expected to know for the exam. So, to define questionnaires, we refer to questionnaires as a quantitative method. We can refer to questionnaires as having standardized questions, which means that the questions are asked in the same order, same questions are asked in the same order for each respondent in the sample. You can refer to questionnaires as typically having closed questions. And you could refer to the views which would support their use. So here with the views, with any question, again we can define the method. With any question we can refer to the views in the debate for any essay question, not just a 15, but in this case the views that most support the use of questionnaires, because the question is not an evaluative question. What does that mean? That means that you are not expected to discuss strengths and weaknesses as much as you are expected to discuss the reasons why they would be used. So you're expected to discuss the strengths of questionnaires mainly. Now, you could include a very brief reference to weaknesses at the end of the essay, and throughout the essay you may refer to possible issues in terms of problems, but the main emphasis needs to be, the main content needs to be focused on the strengths of questionnaires. For a 15 mark question, focus on the strengths of the method. So, in terms of views, positivists can be referred to. You could refer to realists. Okay, those methodologies are main views in the debate that we could refer to. You could refer to concepts. And here I would refer to a range of issues. Practical issues, such as access, cost and time. Ethical issues, representativeness and generalizability, validity and reliability. So that can be memorized with PERV G. P-E-R-R-V-G. Practical, ethical, representativeness, generalizability, reliability, validity. So we're going to discuss some of those issues in this essay, particularly the ones that most relate to the strengths of questionnaires. So for example, there's lots of practical advantages with questionnaires. In terms of validity, it's seen as a valid method according to positivists because it offers high reliability. So again, you've got things you could say about each of those issues. You could refer to studies. Okay, so there are studies using questionnaires and other forms of quantitative data. For example, in Oakley's study of motherhood, she used questionnaires to gather information where she used closed questions about how people felt when they first held their baby for the first time, to find out about whether mothers were treated in a different way to fathers, and had different expectations, which created disadvantage for women. So I'm referring to social inequality and difference. And in this case, questionnaires would be useful to establish overall patterns and trends about motherhood relating to inequality and gender. Those are the main things that we need to include, so we could just talk through very briefly about those. For each methodology, like positivists and realists, you want to have some key concepts for them memorized. So let's look at that as well. So you've got that in your introduction, but in fact your essay can then just follow that structure. So you could refer to quantitative data from questionnaires offering patterns and trends. For example, social inequality, class and social mobility can be measured. For example, we can study, using questionnaires, someone's social occupation, economic status, compare it with previous generations, and that can be done quickly and easily, so that provides practical advantages as well. Positivists would argue this is important for establishing social facts, and therefore having an accurate measurement of a phenomenon which can be used to establish laws and make predictions about future behaviour of human beings. Positivists say this is possible because questionnaires offer data that's higher in reliability, so it's easier to replicate data. So for example, we could say, use an example here, like the pay gap could be measured with questionnaires between genders to establish over time whether that has changed. We could repeat questionnaires over a longer time period using a longitudinal approach to establish whether the pay gap has changed over time. This is particularly possible because questionnaires are standardised. Because questions are asked in the same order and the same questions are asked, to each respondent, it can be easily compared, so you've got better comparability. It's easier to get a bigger sample with closed questions, and more quickly go through the sample with standardised approach. This means that we're likely to get a more representative sample, which better reflects the typical characteristics of everyone in the target population. For example, in studying race and experiences of racism, we can include people from different backgrounds in the right proportions. For example, we need to use questionnaires and account for the increase in ethnic minorities in the UK. And this would, be better in enabling us to apply the results on a larger scale to everyone in the UK. The positivists would argue questionnaires offer a more scientific approach, which means that we've got more testing of theories rather than just offering an explanation. We're actually providing evidence for ideas. The realists would see questionnaires as useful. They would argue that this would be useful as part of a mixed methods approach. We can use questionnaires in combination with other methods like unstructured interviews, and we can check and compare the results. For example, you can compare what the women say in questionnaires about how much they earn. We can compare that with unstructured interviews where they might say why they think they earn less than men. And this could be combined together, data from both methods, checked and compared, and this is known as triangulation. This would improve validity and reliability of results. So questionnaires can be seen as useful as part of an ambitious approach by most contemporary researchers. Would probably consider it important to use it in combination with other methods. It depends on the topic, so questionnaires may be considered more useful for studying topics like frequency, patterns, trends in behaviour, more than perhaps identities based on explanation in depth and how people perceive the world. This is important in terms of having a fitness for purpose approach, where you consider whether the method is suitable for the topic. Questionnaires are suitable for a range of topics and can be considered as part of a wider mixed methods approach. So I've considered a range of issues there, and I've explained in more depth. If you have any questions, please email daniel_butcher@hotmail.co.uk.